Let's finally rebuild the top end on this Yz125 engine, and I'm going to be using this top end rebuild kit from Vertex. They actually did provide this whole top end rebuild kit. This kit comes with just about everything we need to rebuild the top end. So before we do anything, let's open up this piston so we can check ring gap. Look at that freaking crisp piston, holy cow. We don't want to install the piston ring without knowing the gap, because sometimes they do come out of spec. We just want to double check this ring gap, so let's do that now. All we're going to do is squeeze that ring together and put it inside the cylinder. And then once that ring is in there, we want to take the top of our piston and we want to push it in, and we want to make sure it actually goes in straight. And now we're just going to measure the gap in the ring right there with some feeler gauges. The ring gap will be different on almost any machine you work on. In my case, the minimum size isn't too small and the maximum size isn't too big. So long story short, our piston ring is in spec. Now that we know the ring gap is in spec, we can go ahead and start putting this piston on the engine over there. I'm going to go ahead and put one of these C-clips into the piston before we put the piston on. It'll make it way easier. These are kind of difficult to put in and you will launch it across the room, so you want to be careful. But you want to take one end of the clip and put it where that slot is. And then we're just going to push the top of it so it kind of bends inwards. No way, we actually got it. So if you can see right there, that clip went into the little groove that it's supposed to snap into. Now we want to make sure the opening to that clip is actually in the 6 or 12 o'clock position. That way it can't come out of there. We can actually go ahead and use a pick to move it around in there. So I actually moved it. If you can see the gap in the clip right there, it's actually at the 12 o'clock position. Now we got the one clip in, we can actually start putting this piston onto that connecting rod right there. I'm going to actually leave this rag in the bottom end so we don't shoot that other clip into the bottom end. So I'm going to take some 2-stroke oil and we're actually going to lube up the inside of this connecting rod. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've been soaking the wrist pin bearing in oil over here. We're just going to simply slide this thing into the connecting rod. We're going to spin it around a couple times so she gets all lubed up. Now we're going to take the wrist pin, and of course we're going to oil that up too. You want to make sure everything's oiled when you rebuild the top end. Now we can finally get this piston installed. We're going to make sure that arrow right there is actually pointing down at the exhaust, or I guess where the exhaust would be. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you want to make sure that wrist pin goes inside the connecting rod. And now we can struggle to get this other wrist pin clip in. We did the first one with the piston off the engine because it's a lot easier, as you can see. I got that clip to the 12 o'clock position. We should probably also put our piston ring on too. We definitely need that. We got to make sure that letter right there is facing up. TikTok also restricts me to 10-minute videos, so I gotta end the video here and make a part 2. The piston ring is now on there though, and the gap is where that pin is on the piston. This fresh piston looks absolutely mint on the Yz125 engine. The fresh cylinder is gonna look so mint too, as well as that powder coated head. See you guys in part 2.